So guys, believe it or not, we're now at the end of 2012, and looking back, I have to say, it was a monumental year to say the least. The Egyptians were able to democratically elect their first president. The Afghanistan war continues at no end. The global war on whistleblowers escalated. We saw protests erupt in Europe over proposed austerity measures. And of course, we saw Americans re-elect President Obama for a second term. And while it's important to reflect on the events that have defined this past year in history, it's equally important to take a look forward. So, to talk about what we can expect in the next year, 2013, as it relates to war, the global economy, and much more, I'm joined by Gerald Celente, publisher of the TrendsJournal and founder of the TrendsResearchInstitute. Gerald, thank you so much for joining me.
Oh, my pleasure.
So on the cover of your autumn issue of the TrendsJournal, there's a photo of Mitt Romney and Barack Obama with a caption that reads, "The lesser of two evils." I mean, I hear people all the time tell me, Obama's going to do more now that he has a second term and he doesn't need to worry about re-election, or people thinking that he's going to do less because he doesn't care about re-election. So what do you think? What do you see him specifically doing now that he doesn't really have to worry about getting those votes?
You know, he's doing more of the same. I mean, you know, I've been at this a lot of years, and I have to tell you, I've never witnessed an election like this before. There's been no post-election bounce. The bud fell off the Obama rose immediately after Election Day. You saw the equity markets around the world dive, and there's been nothing really since that has happened to have generated any hope or change we can believe in. And I want to make this really clear for those of you who don't know. I'm a political atheist. I don't believe in political religions. I don't believe in their political gods. So when I look at events and issues, it's for what they are and not the way I want them to be. So when I'm saying this about Obama, it's very significant because this, again, you know, this dead bounce after the election. Had Romney won, there would have been a little bit of hope because people would have then said, hey, let's give him a chance. You know, you got to give him a chance, even though, of course, he had no policies to speak of either. So this is very interesting that we're going into this new year with really a lame duck or dead duck president that I've never seen happen before.
Yeah, great point. Yeah, I mean, worshiping these political idols is just absurd. I mean, it's really damaging, I think, to the political rhetoric. And right now, of course, we're seeing a lot of rhetoric about Syria, Assad, about to use chemical weapons, of course, really reminiscent of the Iraq war buildup. And the Iran war drums have been beating for about a decade now. I mean, what do you think about 2013? Do you think this is the year that will finally intervene in these regions?
You mean the Nobel Peace Prize winner starting another war somewhere, like the wonderful humanitarian mission in Libya that left the war, that left a place in a civil war and began to destabilize other parts of North Africa, including Syria, Mali, and other areas? You mean that? I have to tell you, our forecast is that the first great war of the 21st century has already begun. And people aren't adding up the pieces. They're looking at all these events as one-offs. For example, we could talk about Syria and what's going on now, and now, of course, the United States supporting them as well as NATO and many other countries in trying to overthrow Assad. We're looking now at a civil war also raging in Libya. I mentioned Mali. You go down to the Congo, the Sudan. There are wars and uprisings throughout Africa. Go over to Yemen, wonderful civil war going over there that the United States is also involved in. How about Bahrain? Don't say anything bad about Bahrain. The United States has the Fifth Fleet anchored off there. They're in civil war. Look what's going on in Egypt. Look what's going on in Tunisia. Look what's going on in Spain as the millions of indignados take to the street. You know, my saying as a former Bronx guy, when people lose everything and have nothing left to lose, they lose it. They're losing it in Greece. They're losing it in Italy. They're losing it in Portugal. They're losing it in Ireland. The world is at war. All the pieces are coming together, but they're calling them something else. They're not even calling it class warfare in Europe, for example. And it is.
Well, yes, it does seem like every country across the world is deteriorating. I mean, with the global market, everything's connected. Globalization is not, you know, in its current trajectory, it's not sustainable. We're kind of on a crash course. And with all of this conflict happening, Gerald, one of your trends is peace. What up with that?
Well, what we're saying is that we see where this direction is going. I mean, you don't have to be a trend forecaster to figure it out. We believe we're going to see massive peace movements begin to happen in the 21st, in 2013 as it starts spinning out of control. And that's what's going on now. And by the way, you know, people say, well, you know, you talk about the problems. How about the solution? We've come up with a solution. It's called the World Leader Fight to the Finish Face-Off. If Obama keeps shooting his mouth off and says he wants Assad to go, well, great. Let's put it on pay-per-view, like they used to do in the old days. No, I'm serious. Where the warriors used to fight it out between each other. If you have your psycho trip going on, you want to take out Assad, take him out. If you're going to call him out, take him out or get out. Why involve all the innocent people as all of these so-called experts tell us what should be done? And by the way, we could also help balance the budget because we could put these face-offs on pay-per-view. You got a problem with Ahmadinejad? Who has the problem? Oh, Hollande? Oh, how about Cameron? Could you imagine David Cameron, the Prime Minister of the UK, duking it out with another man? I mean, come on. This guy gets off playing with a tennis machine, hitting the ball back and forth. If these people are going to call themselves commanders in chief, lead the fight. And I say that, by the way, as a man who is a close combat second-degree martial artist. If I call someone out, I'll take them out. I'm not going to bow out and say, hey, you soldiers, go fight for the ultimate cause.
But Gerald, we've progressed so much since the Roman Empire. We don't have, you know, people battling in the Colosseum, and we just like to have these wars go on far away where we don't know really what's going on, and we just like to pretend it's all for our best interest, Gerald. But I would love to see that. I mean, that sounds amazing. I wanted to talk about another trend though that you're predicting, which is fracking. Explain more about that. I mean, do you think that we're going to go more toward these natural gas fracking methods instead of oil? Why do you say that?
We have over a 10,000-word white paper that's going to be part of the top trends of 2013 that'll be out in a few weeks on hydrofracking. And yes, it's going to be huge. Again, whether you're for it or against it, again, we only look at the issues for what they are, not the way we want them to be. And I live in New York State, and they may be fracking in a neighborhood near me. And I have to say, speaking for myself, I'm not in favor of it. However, it's going to be huge. We doubt it's going to stop. And when you went back to the debates between Obama and Romney, it was who was going to frack more, not frack, or not. The issue was not are we going to frack at all. And if you listen to Obama's State of the Nation address, he also bragged about more hydrofracking and opening up 700 million acres of public land for more hydrofracking. So yes, it's going to continue, and we also believe it will serve to keep gas prices and energy prices lower.
Do you think it's going to happen in conjunction with, you know, still drilling, the deep water drilling, all the wells, opening up this pipeline going across the U.S. and also more projects in the Middle East? Is this going to happen in conjunction to that, or are we going to go more toward these other methods of extraction?
No, it's going to go in conjunction with that. We believe that the Keystone Pipeline will be approved by the Obama administration, and it was just a stalling tactic until after the election so he could secure part of his base. And he's also, let's not forget, has opened up areas for Arctic drilling. So we're going to see all of that. Oh, and by the way, I just want to jump back one moment about the wars. You know how they say the generals keep fighting the last war? The reason we're saying about peace, and this is very important, I was brought down to Virginia Military Institute in 2000 as the keynote speaker to talk about New Millennium Warfare. People such as General Anthony Zinni were on the panel after I spoke about it. Generals always fight the last war. If we get involved, and this keeps expanding, you're going to see world wars of weapons of mass destruction. You're not going to need F-35s. You're going to have suitcase-sized nuclear weapons. You're going to have biological warfare. You're going to have dirty bombs. And to put this into perspective, look what Hurricane Sandy did to New York and the area by just flooding some area. Could you imagine dirty bombs going off? This is going to be hell when we talk about this. And what we're saying is the same psychopaths in chief that have got us into all these other wars, that are losing wars and ongoing wars, we're very fearful of the next war.
And they're all still working behind the scenes, Gerald, and it really is going to be peace or perpetual war where we might not have a future to predict. Thank you so much for coming on. I want to get you back on and talk about the economy, the fiscal cliff, all that stuff. We'll have to get you back on again soon. Have an awesome next year, New Year's Eve, and we'll talk to you soon. Gerald Celente, publisher of the Trends Journal.